The rollout of Automation Anywhere's .31 release is upon us, and I can't wait to take you through my top 5 developer features from this release. Now, we're going to go from number 5 to number 1, building up to my favorite feature from this release. Sound good? Let's jump right in. Coming in at number 5 is a feature that a lot of people from our user community have asked for, and that is specific metrics and reporting data on device utilization. Now, this is technically a subscreen of the Automation Command Center feature that's been available for a couple of releases now, but continues to see some interesting updates. Now, for some background before we talk about this specific page, your account needs to have a couple permissions in order for the data to appear in the control room when you log in. This Automation Command Center is designed to be something that is tailored specific to your user account or to your persona. And so you may actually have access to multiple tabs dependent on the permissions that your account has been granted. So if you feel like you're not getting the data and the details that you need, all you have to do is go in to customize your roles and your permissions, and you'll be all set. Now, rather than read them all out to you, which always makes for a super engaging video experience, I have a link in the description below that takes you through the specific permissions you'll need to be able to see the Automation Command Center page for admins, which is what we're going over here. The documentation is really straightforward, so I'll leave you to it. But back to this specific device data page. If you click on the kebab menu in the top right corner of the device utilization widget on the Command Center admin page, you can select device details and you'll be taken to a page with specific device data. Here you can see which devices are online versus offline. You can see how many devices may be in need of a bot agent update. You can also see device utilization metrics for things like the success rate of each of your devices. This is really valuable information as it's going to clue me in as an automation leader into which devices may be presenting issues. It's going to let me know where I may have spikes in device utilization, and it's going to clue me in on times where device utilization may be low, which I can use to schedule tasks that may not have a dependency on a certain time of day for their execution. For more details on these graphs, as well as how to access this, hit the link in the description below. All right, moving right along to number 4 in our list is an update to the very popular Generative AI package. If you're not aware, this package includes connections for some of the most popular generative AI providers with access to some of their most popular large language models. Most recently, this package has been updated to support many new models from each of these providers, as well as the ability to select other supported version from the model drop-down selection of your choosing. This gives developers a lot more flexibility when it comes to developing an intelligent automation, as you can specify the exact model you want to use based on your needs. So for example, if I'm using Google Vertex and I'm just doing a simple task, I might choose the Gecko model because of its cost and performance, versus other more expensive models or custom models that I've built, which may be a bit slower or more expensive for each request fulfilled. Again, as I've said in these update breakdowns before, package updates can technically roll out outside of a general release, but I did want to call out this new capability because it just became available. So be sure to check this out in the Generative AI package. All right, at number 3 is a list of updates for document automation with Gen AI. If you haven't used document automation with Gen AI yet, it basically enables you to essentially query your document and ask for the data that you're looking for, regardless of where or how it's presented within the document. This opens up a ton of capabilities with unstructured documents like legal filings and contracts and emails. New in this release is the ability to use regex extract to validate and extract substrings from text, the ability for admins to enable or disable various external service connectors, and the ability to do page validation with some advanced training settings. Document automation now also supports learning instances that have been built on top of Google Document AI, Google OCR, and Microsoft OpenAI for processing documents. Bottom line, if you haven't checked out document automation with Gen AI yet, what are you waiting for? It's absolutely worth exploring. I've been really pleased at how well it's able to extract the data that I'm looking for based on my provided query. As an additional pro tip, think about how you want that response data formatted and consider adding that into your prompt query so you can reduce the amount of time you have to spend massaging the data in subsequent validation steps. So, for example, if I'm trying to read an address and I want it formatted in a specific way, I want to indicate that as part of my query to reduce the time I would spend otherwise cleaning that up in a subsequent step. So be sure you check out Document Automation with Gen AI and some of these new capabilities. Coming in at number 2 is a feature that I'm particularly excited about because I believe it opens up a lot of new doors for the way that automation, and let's be honest, work in general gets done. And that new feature is API tasks. API tasks enable your automations to execute on the cloud with no on-premise infrastructure or VM maintenance or dedicated bot runner to worry about. All of this runs on Automation Anywhere's hosted cloud infrastructure. As of right now, these API tasks can be implemented in 2 key ways. 1, in form, and 2, in process. In form means that I can use an API task to execute in real time as a user is going through the Copilot interface. So, for example, in the screenshot that we have here, a user enters an employee ID, they hit the lookup button, and the API task is invoked to do the actual lookup based on that employee's ID. They don't have to send the task away and wait for it to come back. It instantly executes with a sub-second response time. The other way that these API tasks can be implemented is called in process, where I actually submit the task, it goes and executes, and then the task comes back to me. In the screenshots I've included, I'm doing the exact same thing we did in example 1, where I'm trying to look up the employee ID and bring back the employee data based on that identifier. This is just 2 different ways of implementing the exact same thing. Now, what's really nice here is I'm using the exact same API task in both of these situations. So it really just comes down to how and where I want to implement it. If you take the example of document automation, I might use an API task in process to validate some extracted data, which would be an in-process use case. And if I can't validate it properly, then I would just use that exact same API task in form where a human is actually fixing and perfecting the results of the extraction. And that represents an in-form use case. So I'm using the same thing in both places. As for actually building these API tasks, they're built using a very familiar drag and drop low-code building experience relevant to API-centric, fast executing use cases. That could mean hitting a Salesforce environment to do a CRUD operation, or it might mean interfacing with an available database to perform a lookup or an update. Remember, these are executing on headless Automation Anywhere hosted containers, so you won't be able to use them for any kind of user interface automation. They're designed to execute with sub-second response times and integrate with your existing data repositories and APIs. As organizations start the transition from a task-first architecture for automations and into a process-first architecture for automations, I think that you're going to find that these API tasks will prove to be immensely valuable when it comes to fast, reliable, and reusable executions. So be sure to check out API tasks. And that brings us to number 1 feature of the .31 release. And you may have seen this in a demo that we have on our YouTube channel previously, but it's finally here. And this is our brand new Copilot for Automators feature. Using Copilot for Automators is a simple act of describing the automation you want to build and letting AI do the rest. This is similar to GitHub Copilot in that it's designed to speed up your automation development while also serving a more difficult challenge, which is automating your workflow development or your process. This feature is actually kind of a 3-in-1 because there's a lot that you can do here. So first, you have the ability to describe a process that you want built using Process Composer, and the AI engine will automatically build that for you. Second, you have the ability to actually use this in the bot development workbench to create an individual automation or a task bot that you want built. And finally, this capability also includes a feature that is suggest next best action, which essentially is the autocomplete of automation development. This suggest next best action is a really interesting capability in my opinion, and should be something that's especially valuable for new or citizen developers. So, for example, if I add an action for opening an Excel spreadsheet in my automation, the next best action may be a loop for iterating through that sheet. Or if I add an unzip action, the next best action may be to open or copy a file. So really cool stuff with this Copilot for Automators capability. But let's be real, we all want to talk about what's happening behind the scenes when you actually use this stuff, right? Well, the reality is Automation Anywhere has created a proprietary automation development AI model leveraging 20 years of automation development experience and our rich anonymized metadata from over 150 million, that's right, I said million, automation runs in the cloud. The coolest part? This will continue to improve as more and more people use it. After it builds whatever you've just described, it immediately asks you for feedback. And based on that feedback, we're continuing to refine and improve the model. So while you may use it to build portions of your automation today, future releases will only see these capabilities enhanced and improved as additional feedback is provided. So that's my top 5 dev features that you all should be aware of for the .31 release. We've got some great training materials on the way from Automation Anywhere University to show you how all of this stuff works with our typical exercise-based hands-on learning approach. But I also want to hear from you. So from our developer community, what are your top 5 features? What are you most excited about in the .31 release? Anything you're particularly looking forward to? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. All right, that's it for me on this one. Until next time, thanks for watching and go be great.